July 16, 1945. Humanity held its breath. Fears swirled that igniting the first atomic bomb could set the very atmosphere of the planet ablaze. But the test proceeded anyway, unleashing an unprecedented power in the New Mexico desert. The Trinity test birthed a firestorm reaching towards the heavens, dwarfing mountains. The apocalypse didn't happen, leading many to believe this atomic beast was tamed. How wrong they were. From this video, you'll learn: how did an underground blast nearly launch an object into orbit? Which test earned the grim title Second Hiroshima? And critically, which atomic trials unleashed destruction far beyond anyone's predictions? Even 70 years ago, the lights of Vegas lured guests. But just 100 kilometers away, at the Nevada test site, flashes of a different kind could permanently rob you of the ability to see those lights. Starting in the 50s, about 1,000 nuclear tests were conducted here. In '57, they decided to test the limits underground. As part of Operation Plumb Bob, the Pascal A test, a miniature device was placed in a shaft 150 meters deep. Scientists hoped for complete containment. Instead, a pillar of fire erupted from underground. The actual yield, for unknown reasons, was 55 tons, tens of thousands of times greater than expected. But the military craved more. The Pascal B test. This time, a 900-kilogram steel cap was placed on the shaft. This will surely hold, they thought. They were wrong. A 300-ton explosion struck from below. The cap launched at an absurd speed, 66 kilometers per second. That's 6 times the velocity needed to escape Earth's orbit. Did this piece of steel become the first man-made object in space, predating Sputnik? Unlikely. It most probably just burned up in the atmosphere. But the nuclear demon was just beginning its game. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands. Once paradise, but in the late 40s, a proving ground for destructive power. Over 20 nuclear tests scarred this place. July 1946, the Baker test. An armada of 90 target ships awaited their fate in the lagoon. A 23-kiloton bomb was detonated underwater at a depth of 27 meters. The result, the ship above the charge vaporized. A colossal pillar of water surged into the clouds. When tons of water crashed back down, the resulting tsunami swallowed 9 ships. The remaining 70 vessels received such a dose of radiation that their only path was to the seabed. But the military was only encouraged. 6 years later, on the neighboring Eniwetok Atoll, on November 1st, 1952, they tested a new generation device, IV Mike, the first American hydrogen bomb. A chain reaction of destruction. Nuclear fission triggers fusion, releasing even more energy. 10.5 megatons, the equivalent of hundreds of Baker explosions. The mushroom cloud punched through the stratosphere, reaching 37 kilometers. Islet of Aluga Lab was literally wiped off the face of the Earth. Radioactive dust covered everything within a 56-kilometer radius. 3 planes were sent into the hellish cloud to collect samples. One never returned. Pilot Jimmy Robinson vanished without a trace, swallowed by the atomic beast. From the delivered samples, scientists identified 2 new elements, Einsteinium and fermium. But while America celebrated scientific triumph, on the other side of the planet, another demon was awakening. A lunar landscape? No, this is the Semipalatinsk test site, Kazakhstan. November 1955, the USSR prepares to demonstrate its thermonuclear might with the RDS-37 bomb. On test day, a Tu-16 lifts the bomb, but technology fails. The radar is malfunctioning, the sky is overcast. A blind drop is considered, but the risk is too great. Commander Fyodor Golovashko receives a historic order: make an emergency landing with an armed hydrogen bomb on board. Despite everything, 2 days later, RDS-37 is detonated. The cloud reaches 12 kilometers above airliner routes. A 1.5 megaton blast, but the shock wave is unexpectedly powerful. Damage 200 kilometers away. Moscow sees the potential to destroy American cities, but this bomb isn't powerful enough. The apex of the Soviet program, October 30th, 1961, Novaya Zemlya. A Tu-95 carries the 27-ton Tsar Bomba. A normal drop is impossible. The plane wouldn't escape in time. The solution: drop it with a giant parachute. At an altitude of 4 kilometers, a second sun ignites. A record-shattering 58 megatons, power dwarfing everything before and since. The flash is visible thousands of kilometers away, in Greenland and Alaska. The cloud ascends 65 kilometers, almost to space. The seismic wave circles the Earth 3 times. But America had its own answer. March 1st, 1954. Operation Castle, the notorious Castle Bravo test. Calculated yield, 6 megatons. Scientists' expectations were vastly exceeded. The thermonuclear demon had its own plans. The explosion reached 15 megatons, a U.S. record. The reason? An unexpected reaction of one fuel component, lithium deuteride, which amplified the blast instead of containing it. The fireball grew to 7 kilometers in diameter. The cloud, 40 kilometers high, 100 kilometers wide. The Japanese fishing boat Daigo Fukuryumaru was in the wrong place at the wrong time. 23 fishermen received severe radiation exposure. 1 died. The second Hiroshima, the media called it. But did this stop the military? Just 2 months later, the Castle Yankee test. Similar device, similar yield, 13.5 megatons. This time, radioactive fallout reached Mexico City and the western U.S. states. And on the Marshall Islands, plutonium contamination levels, even decades later, were 1,000 times higher than those near the Chernobyl zone. It became clear this demon could not be tamed. The threat loomed over the entire planet. Mass protests swept the globe. In 1963, the US, UK, and USSR signed the treaty banning nuclear weapon tests in the atmosphere, in outer space, and underwater. But the nuclear age also left curiosities. 5 U.S. Army officers stand at ground zero during a nuclear explosion. Suicide. The mere 2-kiloton charge was detonated at an altitude of 5.5 kilometers. The dense layer of air acted as a shield against everything but the bright flash. Would you agree to such a photo shoot?